Hello and welcome. I think this has become my signature intro now. I've been doing it for the past few videos and it's sticking. So hi, welcome. How are you doing? I am sitting on my puff, which I really love. I have my usual big cup of coffee, which has completely gone cold, but I don't mind drinking it. And I have a big pile of palettes right next to me. Let me show you. This is what I'm talking about. And I have my iPad here because today I'm gonna be reacting to one of my old videos, which is my eyeshadow palette collection. That was uploaded in July of 2018. That's 3 years ago, a little bit over 3 years ago. I cannot believe that it's already 3 years since then, but at the same time, it feels like forever ago. A lot has happened since then for everybody. We did go through a whole pandemic. I cannot believe that it has been 2 years since the whole pandemic started. Enough of that. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and start the video. So this was my most watched video for a very long time actually, but right now it's my third most watched video after my how to make my Alex drawer open more. I never would have thought that that video would do that well, but I guess it's a common problem, and honestly I couldn't find many videos like that on the internet. That's why I made one, so I'm happy that people are interested. Anyways, let's just start this video because I will be editing for days again, like always. This is a 20-minute video, so I thought I would just watch the video and tell you what palettes I still have, what palettes I have gotten rid of, and if my opinion has changed in any of these palettes that I talked about. And also at the end I will be showing you what palettes I have added to my collection. Okay, I'm gonna start the video. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So in my last video I made a look with my 5 most favorite palettes. Let's skip the intro. The first one is this one. This is the Magic palette. Well, I still have that palette. Actually, it's the palette that I used today. Where did I put it? I'm sure some of these palettes will fall and maybe break. So here's the palette. You might be able to see it has some discoloration here because in my previous apartment where I used to display, the sunlight would hit it, and I learned my lesson. I do not leave makeup on direct sunlight. So it has some very beautiful colors. I really love the quality of Juvia's place because this is an affordable brand and makes very good quality, especially the shimmers. They're very creamy and very pigmented and I really like them, and the mattes were quite pigmented, so I really like this brand. I have thought about decluttering this palette, although I do love the color story and I love all of the shades that they're in here, but I just don't tend to use it that much anymore. I still feel like it's a great quality palette, but I have a hard time letting go of makeup, well, stuff in general, but especially makeup. And honestly, if I never bought another eyeshadow palette, bronzer, blush or highlighter, I would not need a new one for the rest of my life. But yet we still keep buying stuff. In my mind, I don't want to get rid of them because I will be using them up sometime, and I know that's just not gonna happen. There's just too much of them, and yeah. Anyways, let's continue. Those are huge pans, and I don't think I'll ever go through any of those palettes because the pans are so big. That's true. Look at this green. The swatches are really beautiful. The shadows are very beautiful still. Shipping was crazy expensive and I was like, I'm not gonna pay more for the shipping than the palette itself. Oh man, international shipping is always the issue. So many brands do not ship to Norway. Fortunately, things have started getting a little bit better lately, but there's still many brands that do not, that I would love to get my hands into. Always the struggle. And import taxes and fees. Hate them. Another one that I have from Juvia's place is the Nubian 2 palette. I still have that one too. This one is a little bit smaller. Again, the packaging is very beautiful. It looks like this. It has a little bit more wearable shades. It's quite nice, but you know, my opinion can change at any moment, so you never know. I still think that the Juvia's place quality is very good, but I honestly haven't bought any Juvia's place palettes in a very long time. I don't think I bought any new since this video actually. And then I have the Saharan palette. I also have this one too. I haven't gotten rid of any of them yet. Also has discoloration from sunlight, which is not the best, but obviously it's still a usable palette, obviously. I wouldn't get rid of it just because of that. So this is how this looks like. I'm not gonna lie, the color story of this, it's not my favorite. It's not super inspiring. It has very nice shades. I might actually end up getting rid of this too. Although I haven't bought anything new, I still feel like I need to tone it down a little bit. Just a little bit. I will be moving at some point in the near future, and I just need to shrink my collection a little bit because they just sit here and basically do not get used. I do try to rotate through my makeup, especially the eyeshadow palette, so that everything gets used at least once in a while. I don't know, the color story of this is not super inspiring, so I might end up giving it away to somebody who would hopefully get more use out of it. And the last one I have from Juvia's place is the Zulu palette. I still have that one too. I feel like the quality of this palette was a little bit different from the other ones, at least when it came to these two shades right here, or the matte shades. It is a very colorful palette and I do not get a lot of use of it, and I even then I thought about decluttering this palette, but I haven't done it yet because I used to scrape the eyeshadows and use a little bit of mixing medium, and then you can create very beautiful liquid eyeshadows. I would use them for like more creative stuff. So yeah, I still think I can get some use out of it, but I don't know if it's worth keeping it. So basically I still have all of the 4 Juvia's Place palettes that I talked about on that video. I might get rid of 3 out of 4. We will see. This was supposed to be limited edition. Probably a lot of those palettes are not available anymore. It is what it is. I've had them for years, so. Okay, next I have this Morphe 25A palette. This Morphe 25A palette, yeah, still have it. This is in my Project 10 pan. It's a palette full of browns, as you've seen it quite a few times before. I have hit a big pan on this shade right here, which I basically use it to set my eyes with it. And honestly, I really like having this palette in my Project 10 pan because it's easy accessible for me. I have quite a bit of use for a lot of these browns. I don't think I will finish the whole palette, but it's nice to have a very neutral eyeshadow palette on hand because some palettes might not have the right shade of brown that I might want to use at that time, so it's nice to have it to use in combination with other palettes, or even on its own. To be honest, it's a nice palette. I kind of like that it has a see-through lid because it actually makes you want to use it more. Still have it in my Project 10 pan. I will have it for quite a while longer because when would I ever finish this? It looks a little bit boring, but it's actually a very good palette. I was surprised when I got it and I started using it. It is very good, and the shimmery shades on these palettes are very creamy and buttery, which from the other Morphe palettes that I've had before, that's not usually the case. I mean, they're alright, but the shimmers on this palette are very creamy, a lot creamier than they usually are. Better than some of the other shimmers at Morphe. I haven't really changed, or my opinion hasn't really changed. I have one palette from Tarte. This is the Tarte's Pro palette. It's so beautiful. It comes with a huge mirror. Well, I do not have that palette anymore. That was actually a nice palette, and the quality of the shadows was pretty good. Actually, I had a friend of mine over at some point and I did her makeup because she was going somewhere, and I did it with this palette. It actually looked very nice on her. This is a little bit of a cooler tone palette. It has some warmer browns here and there, but it is mostly cool tones, and I have warm undertones on my skin, and usually warmer shades suit me better, although I do still use some cool tone shades from time to time. But I just felt like it didn't really suit me that much. When I used it on her, it suited her so much because she had a little bit of a cooler undertone, and I ended up giving it to her because it looked so nice on her, and she was very happy about that. So that palette has definitely gone to a better home. I think it's very nice because for somebody that doesn't have that much experience with makeup, you can see what colors go together. Do they still sell this palette? Probably not. Let's see. I remember it was a huge deal when this palette launched, with all the influencer trips to Bora Bora and stuff like that. That was a time on YouTube. You know what? They still sell it. Yeah, they still have it on their website. So yeah, you can still get it if you want. I think it's a very good quality. I don't use it as much as I should. Exactly. And now I'm gonna talk about the Soph X Revolution palette. I have both of them. I don't have neither of them anymore because I don't really tend to buy so much from that brand. The collaboration with Soph I was really interested in getting because I do follow her and I do like her as a YouTuber, and the palettes were actually quite good quality for what they cost. I think they were £10 each, which is very good price for a palette of that size, and they have a great variety of shades. So if you're somebody that's on budget or is starting out with makeup, those would be great eyeshadow palettes to start with. I think they still have at least the second one of them, but personally I have better quality shadows. Not that these were bad, but I have better, and I didn't really find myself using them so much. I did use them a little bit, but they didn't really inspire me as much, to be honest, and I gave them away. Actually, I think I gave both of them to my sister, and I don't think she has them anymore. I don't know what she did with them. I don't ask. I love both of them, but I really liked them in the beginning, but then the more I used them, I was like, I have better quality eyeshadows than this. I don't need this. That's the thing. When you have so many eyeshadow palettes, you tend to keep the ones that are the better quality, I guess. The newest one, I think it's a little bit nicer, and I personally like it a little bit more. This is how the first one looks like, and this is the second one. They are very beautiful, very good quality, very cheap. Again, I would still recommend them. You can watch my video to see what I think about this one in depth. Yes, go watch the video. Next, I have my most favorite palette of all of the palettes that I own. It's the Huda Beauty palette. I don't know why this is my favorite palette. This is definitely not the best quality eyeshadow palette that I have, but I just love the color combination so much. I agree. I still agree with everything that she said. Yes, I still have it. It's right here. This is the first one because they did refurnish it, or they did come out with a second one, and I'm pretty sure that they changed these texture shades right here. They made them a little bit more or less texture and easier to use because a lot of people were complaining about those. I haven't really tried that eyeshadow palette. I still think this eyeshadow palette is good quality. Again, it's not the best that I have, but I still think it's very good. The reason why I'm still keep this palette, except from the emotional attachments, as I say in that video, is because I just love the color story of this eyeshadow palette so much. It has such beautiful undertones of each shade, you know. This is actually the first high-end makeup palette that I ever bought, if we don't count the customizable MAC palette, which I bought the single shade separately. This is the first one, and I remember when I saw this on social media, I was like, I have to have this eyeshadow palette. It's just so beautiful. I cannot not have it. I just love how this looks so much. I need to have it. I don't think I will ever get rid of this palette. I might just keep it for display at some point if it gets too old to use, you know. I don't really use those shades that much because they are quite difficult to use. They are very textured and they don't cooperate so much, to put it that way. True. Next, I want to talk about two from ColourPop that I have. This one is the Yes Please palette. Looks like this. It has a bunch of warm tones, browns, oranges. It's beautiful. The pans are a little bit smaller than the usual eyeshadow pans, but I don't find it a problem at all because this palette is very cheap. Because I have so many palettes that I don't think I'll ever run out of eyeshadow palettes. That's why. Those are actually magnetic palettes, so if you go, for example, through this shade right here, you can replace it with another one from ColourPop because they sell individuals. Well, I realized that the individual eyeshadows that they sell, which I do have some of them. By the way, I still have that palette. It's right here. I still think it's a very good palette. I love the size of these palettes. I mean, it's small and compact. I realized that the single shadows that they sell, they are bigger than this palette. So I don't think you can swap them if you use up one shade. You'll probably have to buy another palette. And the other palette from ColourPop that I have is the Dream Street palette that was in collab with Kathleen Light. I still have that one too. I actually really like this palette. These two shades right here, they are very, very beautiful. They are creamy and they have a little bit texture to them. They're not completely smooth, which I really like. but they are also buttery at the same time. I just love the quality and the texture of this eyeshadow palette. It's kind of neutrals, but it has a few pops of colors. I think it's very nice and a little bit different from what we usually see in palettes. Really? Why is this different? Probably because of the shades. But I feel like there are just so many brands with so many different eyeshadow textures and formulas out there that we've probably seen it all. So I finished my coffee. I think I'm gonna go and make some tea because I need to have something to drink. Stand by.
A few moments later.
Alright, I'm back with my tea to spill some tea. Let's continue. Next I have one palette from Linda Hallberg. This is the Enchanted Secrets palette. It's a great duochrome palette. Those shadows are not OP. They work best as toppers. You can put them on top of eyeshadows or like cream shadows and they look absolutely gorgeous. I don't really get that much use out of them because again they are meant more as toppers. I mean they are very beautiful on their own too, but yeah. It's a cute palette. I think one of my first Linda Hallberg palettes that I bought. If you want to add a little bit extra on your look, a little bit something, then there's a nice palette for that. They do not sell it anymore. They have two other palettes that they sell right now in this size. And then I have one more palette from Huda Beauty. This one is the Coral Obsessions. It is so small. The Coral Obsessions from Huda Beauty, I don't have that anymore. Although the color story was very pretty, she has a lot of this mini eyeshadow palette and I really love the size of them because the eyeshadow pans are actually full size. They're just very compact. But I do not have that palette anymore because I don't feel like the quality of the shades was as good and definitely not the same as other eyeshadows that I have from her, so I ended up giving it away. Just didn't see the point of keeping it because it would do the thing that when you applied it, it would kind of remove some of the eyeshadow that you already applied from before, so it was kind of difficult to build up. Don't have time for eyeshadows that do not do their job. Honestly, I didn't get a lot of use out of it, so... Okay, next I have this Dose of Colors palette. It was in collab with Desi and Katy. It looks like this. It comes with 4 eyeshadows. Those eyeshadows are so unique. I don't think I have eyeshadows like this in my collection, and I have so many eyeshadows. I still have this eyeshadow palette, and yes, they are very beautiful and unique. 2 of them you are supposed to use wet. I love this little eyeshadow palette. Unfortunately, this was a limited edition thing, so you cannot get it anymore. I haven't actually used it in a long time, and I really need to use it again. First of all, I really like to use this type of eyeshadows for like New Year's or Christmas or like parties and stuff like that because they are quite intense and they are just so stunning. So I actually at the time thought about buying a backup of this because I thought, what if I actually end up using up some of the shades? Like, what am I supposed to do? That tells you how much I love an eyeshadow palette. It's a pity that it's not available anymore. Next I have the Raine Queen of Hearts palette. I have to dig to find this palette, but I still have it. There it is. So here's the Raine Queen of Hearts palette. This is a little bit bigger than I would like it to be. It's not super travel friendly, but it has a great color story. I love the gold inside, although it's a little bit too reflective for the camera. This is one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes. I love the formula of the shimmers. The mattes are also super blendable and easy to use. As I go through my palettes, I realize how much I don't use my eyeshadows all the time. I'm like, oh, I need to use this more, I need to use that more, and like, do it then. Why don't you? But I have so many. Now I have 2 Morphe palettes. This one is the 35O and this one is the 35P. This one is the orange one and this one is the purple one. Just like I said, the Morphe palettes, they usually have a lot of shades that are a little bit similar, but still I think those are very good palettes. I actually have gotten rid of both of these palettes. First of all, the purple one was a little bit too cool tone for me, and the orange one was like a little bit boring. Again, I do not tend to use big eyeshadow palettes like this anymore, and I just felt like there was just too many shades that they were very similar to each other. I don't feel like they were the best eyeshadow quality. They were good for the price, I guess. They were not like the best, and I hope you don't get offended by that because I know a lot of people love Morphe shadows and Morphe makeup in general. I used to like this brand a little bit more before, and I still like it, I guess, but not as much as I used to. They do make one of my all-time favorite setting sprays, the Continuous Setting Mist, which I will continue buying. But I feel like as a brand, they kind of do not resonate with me as much anymore. They have done some collaborations that didn't really make sense in my opinion. Anyways, not here to spill any tea. There's not much tea anyways, except from the one that I'm drinking. Yeah, I just don't get as excited for Morphe as I used to anymore. So yeah, I gotten rid of both of these eyeshadow palettes. They were too big and I just didn't feel like they were necessary to have in my collection. And the quality is actually very good and they're quite affordable, so very worth it. If you want to have an eyeshadow palette that kind of has everything and you only want one big eyeshadow palette and not to have many smaller ones, there are other palettes that I would recommend more instead of this, because these have a little bit too many similar shades. And I'm gonna talk about some Anastasia palettes. The first one that I got is the Modern Renaissance palette. The packaging is so beautiful. I kind of hate this material. It's kind of like velvet. I don't like it at all. I still have this eyeshadow palette. Obviously I wouldn't get rid of it because this was such a huge deal when it first launched. It was in everybody's yearly favorites videos. This basically broke the market at that time. Everybody had to have this palette and obviously I had to have it too. I still think that it is a very beautiful neutral palette. I don't tend to gravitate towards this so much. I still think that it is super usable, but I like a little bit more spice in my life, you know, to have a little bit more fun with makeup, I guess. But from day to day, it's still a very beautiful palette. It's a nice staple palette to have in your collection, I guess. And yeah, I still hate the velvety feel. Anastasia as a brand has kind of died a little bit. It was one of the #1 brands at the time, but I don't think it is as popular anymore. Their launches are not as hype as they used to be. And then I have the Subculture. I still have this palette, as you probably know, because I decided to include this in my Project 10 pan. As I talked in my video, they are very powdery, and that's one of the reasons why I included this one in my Project 10 pan, because I felt like I could go through this palette relatively fast. I still really like the color story of this palette, and I am getting a lot of use out of it lately because of the Project 10 pans. Okay, so we're gonna have to take a break because I need to charge my camera. We're back. Let's continue. The last one, which is my favorite one from the 3 that I have, is a Prism palette. The color combination is just so beautiful. That's what makes me love it so much, and the quality of this shadow is much better than the Subculture palette. That's why I love it more. I still have the Prism palette. I'm pretty sure this was a holiday launch. They do not have it anymore. This is still my favorite Anastasia palette, and I did get 2 more since then. I feel like the color story and the quality of the shadows are my favorite from all of them, and I know that the Subculture and the Soft Glam are the most popular Anastasia palettes, but this one is definitely my favorite. Look at the shades, how pretty they are. This purple right here, I love this so much. It's so beautiful. It kind of looks like gray, but it's actually a dark purple, and it's very nice. I mean, the Modern Renaissance is also amazing. I just prefer a little bit more crazy colors, but from day-to-day basis, this one is the perfect palette. Next, I have the Naked Heat palette. I don't own any of the other Naked palettes. Well, now I do. But I think they are a little bit boring for me, at least. I didn't find them that interesting. I'm talking about the first ones that they've launched, like the Naked, the original one, 2 or 3, whatever. But lately the Naked eyeshadow palettes that they launched, they're a lot more interesting than the older ones. I just thought this one is a little bit more interesting than the other ones. The eyeshadows are great quality. I'm not saying that the other Naked palettes, they're not great quality, the eyeshadow. I just prefer this one. This one is very, very warm, so I guess you're only gonna be creating warm looks. Yes, it is very warm, and I do like the quality. I would use quite a few of these shades, but again, it's a little bit too warm for me. I don't really love very, very coppery reddish eyeshadow shades. I don't know exactly why I got this palette, because I know that I don't love coppery shades that much. It was also quite hyped up, to be honest, and I feel like I need to get it. I wouldn't say I regretted it, but I don't get that much use out of it. I hate the fact that it's so bulky. I mean, I don't need all of this stuff, okay? I still think that the packaging could have been a lot slimmer. Why do you need to take up this much space in my collection.
Okay, and next I have some Zulu palettes, and Zulu makes amazing quality palettes for a very
Well, I wouldn't say amazing. Well, some of them are very good, but I found that a lot of the Zulu palettes, they were very average and not that amazing. So yeah, my opinion has kind of changed after trying a few of them.
And I have 4 of them to share with you. I have the Cocoa Blend palette. Looks very nice. Like this, has very nice warm shades. It's maybe my favorite one.
Yes, where it is. I still have that one here somewhere, right? Yeah, I still have that one. Where is it? Oh, at the bottom of everything. Of course it's at the bottom. Here it is, the Cocoa Blend. I think this was the first eyeshadow palette from Zulu that I got. I really like the colors. I do still use it from time to time. I think it's a good quality palette. Nothing mind-blowing, but still very good. And I love how slim they are. And also the Caramel Melange. That one too. It's a nice kind of everyday eyeshadow palette, I guess.
The Caramel Melange, which looks like this, comes very close. Those two are my 2 favorite palettes from Zulu. And then I have the Aristo palette. I really like this one too.
I had that one. I recently got rid of it, or a few months ago actually. I did quite like the color story of this eyeshadow palette, but I feel like they looked a little bit muddy on me when I blended them out, and I don't feel like they had, oh my god, the battery is dying again, like what is this? I don't feel like they had the best color payoff, I would say. So for those reasons I got rid of it.
But on the other hand, the Sweet Glamour palette, this one was very disappointing, unfortunately. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love those pastel shades, but the thing is that they are not pigmented enough to show on the eyelids, and they end up all showing almost white. I don't know why I still have it, because I don't use it that much, but it's just so hard for me to get rid of it because it's so pretty.
Yeah, I don't have it anymore. I got rid of it, so yeah. Again, I still agree with my opinion. It was just not showing off. You had to put a lot of eyeshadow in order for them to show. It was my only pastel eyeshadow palette, that's why I kept it. But then I have gotten this from Beauty Bay, and this show up a lot more, like a lot more than this one.
And the name, Sweet Glamour, I think it fits so well.
Yes, the name of the eyeshadow palette and the shades was quite nice, to be honest. And the packaging was very beautiful, but if the quality is not there, then I'm just not gonna keep it. Why are you dying again? Like, come on. So my camera kept dying and I had no patience for that. So I am using a different camera, which I am filming with for the first time. So I don't know how it will end up being. It might be better, it might be worse, I don't know. But I had to finish this video because I want to finish it today and not wait for my battery to keep charging. And I'm hungry, so I need to make dinner soon. All right, let's keep going because I have a lot eyeshadows to talk about.
Let it be known.
Wrong video.
This palette right here, this is the Kat Von D Alchemist holographic palette. It is a duochrome palette, I would say. Unfortunately, it fell on the floor and it broke.
Well, I don't have that palette anymore. As you might remember, I put that palette in the Project 10 pan because it was just basically with one foot on the grave. Most of the eyeshadows fell and broke, 3 of the 4. They had a tiny bit left, so I just wanted to get rid of it. It was just taking too much space. Also, I wasn't really using it as much anymore because of the green and purple shades. They were just not in as much as they used to be at that time when this came out. So yeah, anyway, I finished it, or 3 of the shades at least. I completely finished them. I depotted 1 of the shades. I have it in my custom-made Z palette. I did want to buy a new one when it broke because I really like it that much, but thank God I didn't.
For the end, I'm gonna be talking about the custom-made palettes that I have, and I'm gonna start with this one. This one is by MAC. This one is the first high-end shadows that I ever got. I didn't finish it in one day, of course. It took me maybe years to finish it.
When I say finish it, I mean complete all the eyeshadows.
I think MAC eyeshadows are quite good quality, but you can find other eyeshadows like are better quality and cheaper than MAC.
I agree, they're not, or the single shadows, I feel like they had that formula for too long. They need to change things up. I know that there are people that still like them, still like the fact that they do not deposit too much eyeshadow because most of the shadows these days are quite pigmented and some people still like to kind of work a little bit more with the eyeshadow so that they can build them up as much as they want, you know. I do not like them anymore. The eyeshadow palettes that they came up with, not the customizable palettes, but the actual eyeshadow palettes that they came up with, have better formula. If you wanted to get some MAC shadows, I would recommend those instead of.
I don't think they're that great anymore after having tried a lot of other palettes. Yeah, but still, I'm never gonna get rid of this palette because it's my first high-end palette and it has just so much sentimental value to me.
Well, I did get rid of it, and it's kind of a funny story because I got rid of this just before I got the job as a freelancer for MAC. And when you work for MAC, you're only supposed to wear MAC products, which it makes sense, but I did get rid of it right before I knew about the job opening and that I would get the job. I was like, I did have MAC eyeshadows and I got rid of them, so I don't know what I'm supposed to wear now when I work for them. I was a freelancer. I did end up only getting one shift because then I moved. And yeah, although this was kind of a sentimental value, I was like, I do not like the quality of the shadows anymore, and I'm not just gonna keep it to look at them.
Okay, speaking of Makeup Geek, which I think are better quality than the MAC ones.
I think I had a chia seed on my teeth because I was drinking a smoothie with chia, and yeah, that's not very flattering.
I have quite a few. I put them in a Z palette.
Well, I have completed my Z palette since then. It's now complete. It does not just have Makeup Geek eyeshadow. I think 6 of them are not Makeup Geek, or 7 of them actually. I have 6 ColourPop eyeshadows and 1 from the KVD or Kathleen at the time that I did bought it. So here are them. It's actually looking quite nice, although I haven't used this in a while, to be honest. I do believe that the Makeup Geek eyeshadows are better quality than the MAC ones. I intended to only have single Makeup Geek shadows in this eyeshadow palette, but Makeup Geek changed the shape of their single shadows and they are square now. So I was like, how am I supposed to complete it if some of them are square and some of them are circles? So I decided instead of to go for some ColourPop single shades just to complete the palette, because it was just annoying me to have incomplete stuff. When you customize palettes like this, it does end up getting a lot more expensive than if you were to buy an already pre-made eyeshadow palette. So I have not bought more single shadows since then.
I haven't finished this palette, but all of the shadows that I have been using them so much.
Did I use them so much? Or did I just say that? I mean, I did use, where is it? I definitely did use Peach Smoothie a lot. That's a throwback from YouTube. And as you can see, I have hit pan on this. And also Barcelona Beach, I've used it quite a bit. It has a big dent to it. But everything else, I didn't really use that much. So I don't know why I said that.
Peach Smoothie, I've almost hit pan on it. Especially for a period of time, I would use it in my every single look. In the crease.
Well, that's true. I did use it on my crease all the time.
And the last tool that I have are 2 palettes from England. They are magnetic. You can put them on top of each other and then
I had the thing for customizable palettes at the time.
They don't fall. And then you can have them all together like this, which is very cool. The lid is also magnetic. You can put like this. I think it's a very nice style. I have some warm shades right here and some a little bit cooler shades.
I do not have these palettes anymore. Again, I do think that they're not the greatest quality eyeshadows. They are good, but I'm just used to having a lot more easy to work with eyeshadows, which give me a lot more pigment than those. I ended up getting rid of them before I completed the palettes.
Okay, that was it.
That was it. And I have so many left. So let's see. I ended up getting rid of 11 palettes from those palettes right here. About half of them, or maybe a little bit less than half. And also used up one of them, which is crazy to say, but it is a Kathleen palette that I used up. And also there have been some palettes in between since then, and now new palettes that I have gotten rid of them. 11 palettes are out and a lot more than 11 are in. I thought I would as quickly as I can go through them. I know I tend to ramble, and it's gonna be quite a bit. Let's talk about them. The newer additions since then. Again, I used to buy lots of eyeshadow palettes all the time. It's gonna take forever. I'm just gonna grab them as I see them. I have the ColourPop and Kathleen Light's So Jaded palette. It's actually one of my favorite ColourPop palettes. It has a lot of shades. It kind of looks like the Morphe bigger palettes, but this is a little bit smaller than those in comparison actually with another Morphe palette which I have. This is the Jaclyn Hill and Morphe palette. This is the comparison. So yeah, this has some very beautiful shade. I love this shade right here. I love many of them. It has a lot of different textures, mattes, shimmers, it has some glitters. I really like this eyeshadow palette. It has a lot of beautiful shades that I would want to use. They're not too similar to each other like the Morphe shadows. Again, one of my favorite ColourPop eyeshadow palettes. I haven't bought eyeshadow palette from ColourPop in a long time. I don't think, unfortunately, you can get your hands on it anymore. Yeah, and again, I have the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill eyeshadow palette. I feel like this is a little bit better quality than the other 35 palettes that they had. It has a bigger variety of shades, I would say. It still has a lot of similar-ish shades, but it is better varieties. Another bigger-ish palette that I have is the Beauty Bay and Nikki Tutorials palette. Beauty Bay has actually very good eyeshadow quality. They're also very affordable. It kind of annoys me that it opens like this. It is very pretty, but it annoys me that it opens like this because very impractical when you sit and do your makeup. It takes so much space, but the eyeshadows that are inside are actually quite nice. It has some more unique shades like this green right here and this whatever light blue color right here, and this shade is a shimmery shade. I love this shade. This is so beautiful. Let's do the remaining Anastasia palette. Since that time I bought two newer ones. The Soft Glam palette, also very hype type palette. It got a lot of attention for a good reason. It has very beautiful infant. What the hell? This camera kind of has different modes. I don't know, it kind of tells you what it's recording, I think. And for a moment it said infant. I was like, what are you talking about? Anyway, so yeah, very beautiful colors. It's a very easy everyday neutral palette, and I can definitely see myself using it up if I wanted to, you know. I did also get the Riviera palette, which is a more summery palette. It has a lot of beautiful, more bright shades. I did hit pan on this white shadow right here because this is, believe it or not, this is the only matte white eyeshadow that I have in my collection. I do have two Dominique Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes. This is the Latte palette, the first one, and then this is the second one. I think this used to smell like something, but definitely doesn't smell anymore. I really love this brown shades right here. There's something about the undertone, just like with the Huda Beauty palette. The undertones are just right. It's very pretty. I do like it, and the quality is very good. But in my opinion, the Latte 2 palette is more pretty. They are very similar to each other, like the mattes, but they do have some difference. They are a little bit darker than the first one. See, break. Let's talk about the Linda Hallberg shadows that I have. Okay, so I have the original or the first eyeshadow palette that they came up with. This is the Infinity palette. It's very simple, not super pigmented. It looks like this. It's nothing super exciting, you know, but this is a very versatile palette, and the point with this palette and generally the Linda Hallberg brand is that they're multifunctional. You can use them for different reasons. So this is very nice. For example, you can use this for brows, bronzer and contour maybe, and blushes and highlighter. Again, they're not super pigmented for that reason, because so that you are able to use them on your face too. I think it's a nice palette to have in my collection. That's the first one. I also have I have four of them. The Infinity, what is it called? Infinity Glam palette. I really like this shadow. I really liked it when it first launched, but when I actually tried it, I was more impressed with this palette than the other ones from Linda Hallberg. This is a palette that I tend to use as a blush. Not that I don't have enough blushes, actual blushes, but this is very nice, and it looks very nice on the eyes. Again, it's not super pigmented, so you need to work with it a little bit, but if you use, for example, an eyeshadow base that has a little bit more grip to them, then they are going to show up a little bit more. Or like, for example, if you don't set your concealer before you use them, then they will show up a little bit more. I think this might be my favorite Linda Hallberg palette. or Infinity palette, I should say, because she has more fun palettes. And then we have the Infinity D palette. This I got last December, so this is basically the last eyeshadow palette that I bought. I bought it on 70% off, I think, so they had some great deal towards the end of the year, so keep your eyes open if you want to buy some Linda Hallberg products. They tend to do good sales sometimes. So yeah, this is for more deeper skin tones, I guess, for the face, but obviously you can use them as eyeshadows whenever you want. It's a very nice palette. I just had my eyes on it for a very long time, and since it was on sale, I just got it, and I do like it, and I have used it quite a bit. And the last one that I have is the Spectral palette, which is very pretty, but I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit disappointed at this palette, since this is a little bit more fun palette. It's not like the Infinity series. It has fun shades, and I do like how they apply, but I expected them to be more pigmented than the other eyeshadow palettes. I think I have 48 palettes in total, which is crazy. I do really need to declutter some makeup before I move. Okay, let's go to some more thin palettes if you want. So I do have the 420 palette by Melt Cosmetics, the shades. Like, look at the shades, they are so beautiful, especially for fall time. This is the most beautiful fall eyeshadow palette. Those shades, they make me so happy when I look at them. They're not the best quality eyeshadows, I have to say. They do blend out a little bit difficult sometimes, and I did buy it. I think it was on sale from Juvia when I bought it, and I went ahead and bought it, and then I saw some reviews and I was like, why did I buy it? Because a lot of people were saying that they have a very difficult time blending those eyeshadows, and they would apply patchy, and I'm like, oh, what did I do? I emailed the customer service instantly, actually, and I told them that I want to cancel my order, and they say that if it has shipped, then we cannot do anything about it, because they actually ship very fast. But they told me that it hasn't shipped yet, so we have canceled it. Then I did get it, and they told me that unfortunately it had shipped already. So yeah, I do not really regret it, because they are so beautiful and I can still make them work, although I haven't used them that much. Next, I have two more Melt Cosmetics eyeshadow palette. For a moment there, I was really obsessed with Melt Cosmetics. They have some very beautiful packaging and quality of shadows. I have the Radioactive palette, which is so pretty. This is how it looks. Obviously intense colors, just like I like them. They're very pigmented, so gotta be a bit careful with them, but I do use them from time to time, especially if I'm doing like more fun creative stuff. And then I have the Smoke Sessions palette, which, come on, like, the color stories are so pretty. This is why I was obsessed with them. Olivey green shades like this, they are my favorite. It only has 2 matte shades, so you do need to use it in combination with some other palette. I do have another Urban Decay Naked palette. This is the Naked Cherry. I actually was pleasantly surprised by how much I like these eyeshadows on me. I thought that this would be a little bit too warm and they wouldn't suit me that much, but they look very nice actually. I have made a lot of looks with this eyeshadow palette, especially when I had the pink hair. And then I have the Dose of Colors and Desi and Katy eyeshadow palette. Definitely my number 1 favorite eyeshadow palette. Unfortunately, it was limited edition, but if everything else, if I can only have one eyeshadow palette from all of this, it would definitely be this one, because it's just perfection. Look at the shades. This as a topper. So yeah, this is the most perfect eyeshadow palette. If you got it, you're lucky. Okay, now for the smaller palettes, I have a few more ColourPop eyeshadow palettes to talk about. This is the Good Sport eyeshadow palette. Very pretty packaging and actually quite nice color story. And then I do have the Zodiac palette in collaboration with Kathleen Lights. Also has some very pretty shades. The color story is not my favorite, but she did it this way to kind of match the colors of the signs, I guess. You can use it in combination with another palette and it will look beautiful. And then I have the Taupe palette. It has basically cool tone browns or taupe shades. And I only got this palette so that I can use it for like shading when I do more like Halloween looks and creative looks and stuff like that. I don't have that many cool tone browns, and with this I can do a lot of shading basically. And also this shade right here, this is actually very pretty. And then I have the Linda Hallberg, the new Golden 20s eyeshadow palette, which looks like this. Honestly, it's nothing mind-blowing. It is good quality, but it is one of the more neutral palettes that they have. It's not my favorite Linda Hallberg shadow, and honestly, I do not love the red on the packaging, but again, nobody asked me. They are good quality. I'm not saying that they're bad quality, but I could do well without this palette. And then I have another ColourPop shadow, forgot to talk about. This is the It's My Pleasure. It has a mirror, which is awesome, and it looks like this. It has many beautiful pink and purple shades. I have gotten quite a bit of use out of it. I still really like it. And then I have another Toss of Colors eyeshadow palette. This is in collaboration with I Love Saharan. This is also a very pretty palette. Toss of Colors makes very good quality eyeshadow palettes. And the packaging, like... And then I have this Beauty Bay palette. I talked about this previously, the pastels. These are actually pigmented. The first pastel eyeshadow palette that I've come across that it is actually pigmented. You can really build this up and they will actually show. I have used it a few times to do monochromatic looks and they look beautiful. I have this Linda Hallberg Metallic Mysteries 2 palette. This is still available while the Enchanted Secrets is not. Look how stunning this looks. This is basically Christmas in a palette. And then I have the NYX Ultimate Shadow Palette, Ultimate Brides. I'm pretty sure this is called the Ultimate Brides, yes. And I have gotten quite a bit quite a bit use out of this. It has some pretty colorful shades. I didn't have that many colorful eyeshadows at the time and I wanted one palette that kind of has everything, so I got this one. They're alright. And then I have two Huda Beauty palettes. I have this pink neon, I think it's called. Doesn't say. I feel like the quality of the glitters, I would say, it's not the greatest. I feel like they're a little bit too hardly pressed. It makes it a little bit difficult to pick up and deposit on the eyes. Although I think that the shadows are stunning, so beautiful. But I'm keeping it. I'm not gonna get rid of it because I really like the shades. And then I have the other one, the Khaki Haze. Honestly, I love how small these palettes are, but I don't know why I keep buying them. I definitely did not need this palette, but I bought it because it was staring at me and I was like, do I need you? No, but am I going to get you? Yes. I mean, I was like, no in the beginning, but then I kind of got it. There it is. I love khaki shades. It has some browns. It doesn't only have olivey shades, which in my opinion, I believe that it should have more olivey shades. And then another eyeshadow that actually has more green shades is the Natasha Denona Gold palette, a mini one. So pretty, very beautiful shades, very good quality. I like it. I've made quite a few looks with this, not on YouTube. I actually made one look with it on YouTube, but on my own time, you know. And I love how tiny it is. It's very pretty. And the last one that I have is this eyeshadow stock from Mel Cosmetics. This was very popular back in the day. This is the Dark Matter eyeshadow stock. It's basically magnetic and it has a few shades. It has a black and burgundy, like terracotta, you know what I mean, shade. And then we have this nice brown and the lighter brown. It's a nice eyeshadow palette or stock, eyeshadow stock. And it was super popular, very hyped up, so I had to get my hands at least one of them. I don't know if they sell them anymore. They used to have quite a few different stocks. They do have eyeshadow palettes now. I don't think they make so many of them anymore. That was everything. So these, I'll show you a comparison if I can. I'm so tired. These are the eyeshadows, or the remaining eyeshadows that I have from that video 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, I would say. These. I shouldn't be doing this. This is all for your sake. I feel like I'm playing that game where you pull out the wood things. You know what I'm talking about? That's what I feel like right now. These this is ridiculous. I do realize it now, how ridiculous this is. These are the rest of the eyeshadow palette that I bought since then. But yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had fun with me. I had kind of fun filming it. I am quite tired right now and quite hungry, to be honest. And I have to put everything in place. I definitely need to do a declutter. This is just a bit crazy. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Comment down below if you have something to say. How many eyeshadow palettes do you have? If you have gotten rid of anything, just whatever you want to tell me, just write it and I'll answer you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again in my next one. Bye. How will I get up? How will I get up? Alright, bye. This is why my videos are 2 hours long. I need to put my shit together.